I kept staring at the street like it was going to change if I waited long enough. I whispered, 4 years, and I'm finally here. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I didn't even switch off the engine at first. I said to myself, Emma, Sophie, I'm home. I stepped out of the truck, but my legs felt heavier than I remembered. I looked at the house and muttered, this is supposed to be my home. Everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. I walked slowly toward the door. Every step sounded louder than it should have. I whispered, just knock. That's it. Just knock. I raised my hand. Knocked once. Silence. I frowned. Maybe they're asleep. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. I leaned closer and called out, Emma? Sophie? It's me! No answer. But then, I heard movement inside. I froze. I whispered, someone's there. My heart started beating faster. I stepped back and looked through the side window. And for a second, I saw her. Sophie, standing there, looking at me. I whispered, shocked, Sophie. She didn't move, just stared. Then suddenly, she stepped back and disappeared. I stepped forward instantly. Sophie, wait! But she was gone. I turned back to the door, panic rising. I knocked again. Emma, open the door. Footsteps came closer. Slow. Careful. The lock clicked. My breath stopped. I whispered, finally. The door opened slightly. And there she was. Emma. But her face, it wasn't happiness. It was fear. Pure fear. She whispered, no. I frowned. Emma, it's me, Ethan. She stepped back instantly. Please, leave. My world stopped. I said, confused, what? Emma? I just came back. Her hands were shaking. You shouldn't be here. I stepped closer. What are you talking about? I'm your husband. She shook her head. No, you're not supposed to be alive. My chest tightened. What did you just say? She whispered again. Please leave. I raised my voice slightly. Emma, look at me properly. She cried, don't make this worse. I froze. Then I asked softly, where is Sophie? She didn't answer. I said again, Emma, where's my daughter? Her lips trembled. And then she slammed the door, locked it. My hand stayed on the wood. I knocked hard. Emma, open this door. No answer. I pressed my forehead against the door. Emma, talk to me. Then, all the lights inside turned off. Darkness. I stepped back slowly. I whispered, what just happened? I stood there for minutes, waiting, hoping. Nothing. No sound. No movement. Nothing. I walked back to my truck slowly. My mind kept repeating one thing. Why did my own family look at me like I'm a ghost? I sat inside the truck and stared at the house. I whispered, I didn't come this far to be shut out. And for the first time since coming home, I realized something was deeply wrong. Not just with them, with everything. I didn't leave the house that night. I stayed parked across the street, staring at it like it would confess something if I waited long enough. I whispered, Emma, Sophie, what are you hiding from me? My hands were still shaking on the steering wheel. Hours passed. Then I saw movement. A light turned on inside. I leaned forward. Finally. But it wasn't Emma. It was someone else moving inside my home, like they belonged there. I frowned. Who was that? I waited, barely breathing. Then the front door opened. A man walked out. Calm, confident, like it was his house. I whispered sharply, "Who the hell is that?" He locked the door behind him like it was normal. Click. That sound hit me harder than anything. I muttered, "He just locked my door." He stood there for a second, checking his phone. Then he pulled out keys. My keys. My chest tightened. No, that's not possible. He walked toward my truck. My truck. I opened the door instantly. "Hey, that's my vehicle." He stopped for a second, looked around, then got inside. I shouted, "Get out of my truck!" But he didn't even react. He started it and drove away. Just like that. I sat there frozen. I whispered, "He stole my truck from my house." I stepped out and walked fast toward the building. I banged on the door. "Emma, open up." No answer. I hit it again. "I saw someone leaving. Who was that?" Still nothing. I pressed my palm against the door and muttered, "You're in there. I know you are." Then a voice came from behind me. "Are you looking for someone?" I turned instantly. An old woman stood near her garden, watching me carefully. I said quickly, "Yes, I need answers. That man just came out of my house." She frowned. "Your house?" I nodded. "Yes, I live here." She shook her head slowly. "That's not possible." I stepped closer. "What do you mean, not possible?" She studied my face, then whispered, "You look like him." My heart tightened. "Like who?" She hesitated, then said the words that froze me. "Ethan Carter. He died 2 years ago." Silence. I felt like the ground shifted under me. I whispered, "What did you just say?" She repeated it slowly. "You died." I shook my head. "No, I'm standing right here." She stepped back. "They held a funeral." My voice cracked. "Who is they?" She looked away. "Your family." I felt my stomach drop. I said sharply, "That's impossible. I was deployed." She whispered, "Everyone believes you're gone." My breath got heavier. I muttered, No, that's not real." Then I asked, "Who told them that?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "Ask your wife." Those words hit harder than anything I survived overseas. I stepped back. "Emma?" She didn't answer. She just went inside and closed her door. Lock. Silence again. I stood there shaking. I whispered, "They buried me while I was alive?" My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice came through. Calm, controlled. "You shouldn't be here." I froze. "Who is this?" He replied, "You need to stop asking questions." I clenched my jaw. "Who are you?" He said, "You already know me." Then the line cut. I stared at the phone. My hands were cold. I whispered, "No, I don't know anything anymore." That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed in my truck, watching my own house like it belonged to a stranger. And for the first time since coming back, I stopped asking if I was welcome and started asking a much darker question. If I'm supposed to be dead, then who the hell just drove away in my life? I didn't go back to sleep that night. I kept replaying the same thought over and over. I saw a man leave my house. I saw him take my truck. By morning, my body felt exhausted, but my mind refused to stop. I whispered, if I'm dead, then I need to see what they buried. That's when I made my decision. I drove straight to the cemetery. The gates looked older than I remembered. I stepped out and muttered, this shouldn't be real. A cold wind hit my face. I walked in anyway. Each step felt heavier, like I was walking into someone else's memory. A caretaker noticed me. He called out, can I help you, sir? I said, yeah, I'm looking for a grave. He nodded. Name? I swallowed. Ethan Carter. He froze. Just for a second. Then he said quietly, follow me. My chest tightened. Why did you react like that? He didn't answer. He just walked. I followed him deeper inside. I whispered, this is insane. We stopped near a quiet section. He didn't speak. He just pointed. I stepped forward slowly. And then I saw it. A gravestone. My name carved into it. I stopped breathing. I whispered, no. I walked closer. My fingers trembled as I touched it. Ethan Carter. Born. Died. I stepped back instantly. This is fake. The caretaker said, it's been here for 2 years. I shouted, I was in a combat zone. He replied, records say otherwise. I shook my head hard. No, 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 no. I stepped back again. My legs almost gave out. I whispered, they buried me. Then something hit me. A flash of memory. Gunfire. Dust. An ambush. I grabbed my head. No, I remember that day. The caretaker asked, are you okay? I ignored him. My voice dropped. We were hit. Separated. Another memory came. I whispered, I survived. I looked at the grave again. I survived. My breathing got heavier. Then who did they bury? Footsteps came behind me. A voice said, Ethan? I turned fast and froze. Jake Reynolds. I whispered, Jake. He looked at me like he had seen a ghost. You're alive? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I am. He stepped closer. We were told you didn't make it. I said, so was I. He looked at the grave. This is real. I replied, someone made it real. Jake frowned. We had survival signals after your unit was hit. I froze. What signals? He said, multiple confirmations that you were alive in the field. My heart started racing again. I whispered, then why am I here? Jake shook his head. Those reports, they disappeared. I stepped closer. Disappeared how? He said quietly, before they ever reached your family. Silence hit between us. I looked at the gravestone again, then back at him. So someone knew I was alive. Jake nodded slowly. Yes. My voice dropped, and still buried me anyway. Jake didn't answer. That silence said everything. I stepped back, anger building in my chest. Who benefits from me being dead? Jake looked uncomfortable, then said, that's what we need to find out. I laughed bitterly. No, I think I already know. He frowned. What are you saying? I looked at the grave again and whispered, "Someone didn't just lose me. They replaced me." Jake stepped closer. "Ethan, listen. This is bigger than you think." I cut him off. "My name is on a grave I didn't earn." I pointed at it. "And someone erased my survival like it meant nothing." Jake stayed silent. I turned away. My voice dropped. "This wasn't a mistake." I looked at him. "This was planned." Jake finally said, "Then we're dealing with someone inside the system." I clenched my fists. Or inside my family. That hit the air between us like a knife. Jake didn't deny it. I whispered, "Emma." Then I stopped. Because something inside me already knew. This wasn't just about war. This was about everything I left behind. And someone had rewritten it all while I was still breathing. I couldn't stop thinking about the grave. Even when I left the cemetery, even when Jake kept talking, even when the engine of my truck roared down the road, my mind stayed there. I'm alive, but they buried me anyway. Jake called my name again. "Ethan, focus." I snapped back. "I am focused. I just don't understand how my own life got rewritten." Jake said quietly, "You need answers from your family." I laughed bitterly. "My family locked me out." He replied, "Then start with your daughter." That word hit differently. "Sophie." I whispered, "I need to see her." That evening, I got the message. Unknown number. Just one line. "Meet me at the park. Don't tell anyone." I stared at it for a long time. I muttered, "This could be another trap." But I still went. Because I needed the truth more than I needed safety. The park was almost empty when I arrived. The air felt heavier than usual. I walked slowly and whispered, "Sophie, if this is you." Then I saw her. Sitting on a swing. Small. Quiet. Older than I remembered. My chest tightened instantly. I whispered, "Sophie." She looked up and immediately stood back. "Don't come closer." I froze. I said softly, "It's me, Dad." She shook her head. "No, Mom said you're not safe." Those words hit like a bullet. I stepped back slightly. "Emma said that?" She nodded quickly. "She said you're dangerous." I whispered, "Dangerous?" My voice cracked. "Sophie, I would never hurt you." She looked confused. "I don't know what to believe." I took a slow breath. "Then just listen to me." She hesitated. I said, "I came back for you." Her eyes filled with fear and doubt. She whispered, "I remember you, but they said you died." I shook my head. "I didn't." She stepped back. "Then why do they have your grave?" I closed my eyes for a second. That's the part I'm trying to understand. Silence stretched between us. Then she said something that changed everything. I heard them arguing. I opened my eyes instantly. "Who?" She looked down. "Mom and Ryan." My heart tightened. "Ryan?" She nodded. "He was there a lot." I asked quickly, "When?" She whispered, "Before and after they said you died." My voice dropped. "That's impossible." She said softly, "He used to talk to Mom when you were away." I clenched my jaw. "About what?" She hesitated. "I don't know. Money, papers, grown-up things." That word stuck. "Papers." I stepped closer. "Sophie, did you hear anything else?" She looked nervous, then whispered, "After they said you were gone, I heard Mom crying. I said quietly, "What did she say?" Sophie swallowed. She said, "It's done now." My chest tightened again. And Ryan said, "He won't come back." Silence hit me hard. I stepped back. "Done?" I whispered. They were talking like a plan. Sophie suddenly looked scared. I shouldn't be here. I said quickly, "Wait, Sophie, don't go." She shook her head. "I'm not supposed to talk to you." I stepped forward. "Sophie, please, just one more thing." She hesitated. For a second, she looked like she wanted to stay. Then, a voice came from behind. "Sophie." We both froze. I turned slowly, and my stomach dropped. Ryan, standing there like he owned the place. I whispered, "You?" Sophie stepped back instantly. "No." Ryan smiled slightly. "You shouldn't be here." I stepped forward. "She's my daughter." He tilted his head. "Is she?" That question burned. I snapped. "What did you say?" He looked calm. Too calm. "She looks confused," he said. I clenched my fists. "Stay away from her." Sophie suddenly ran. "Sophie," I called. But she was gone. I turned back to him. "What did you do to my family?" He sighed. "I helped them survive you." I stepped closer. "Survive me?" He nodded slowly. "That's how they see it." My voice dropped. "That's how you made them see it." He didn't deny it. Instead, he said quietly, "You don't understand what it was like while you were gone." I snapped. "I was fighting to stay alive." He smiled faintly, and I was keeping everything from falling apart. I grabbed him by the collar. "You destroyed it." He didn't fight back. He just whispered, "You already lost her long before you came back." That line hit harder than anything else. I let go slowly. My voice shook. "Sophie." Ryan stepped back. "You're not the only one who lived in your shadow." Then he walked away. Just like that, leaving me alone in the empty park. I stood there, breathing heavily, whispering, "What did you turn my family into?" And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just betrayal. It was replacement. I didn't go back home after the park. I just kept driving. No direction, no plan, just thoughts that wouldn't stop. Sophie is scared of me. Emma believes I'm dangerous, and Ryan is standing in the middle of all of it. I hit the steering wheel once. This doesn't make sense. My phone kept buzzing. "Jake." I finally answered. "Talk." He said quickly, "You need to see this." I replied, "If it's another dead man file, I'm done." He said, "It's not. It's worse." That made me silent. I muttered, "Where are you?" "Old military records office," he said. "Come now." When I arrived, Jake was already waiting. He didn't waste time. He slid a thick file toward me. Financial traces, access logs, identity changes. I frowned. "Whose?" He looked at me. "Your entire case." I opened it slowly. Page after page. Numbers, transfers, signatures. Then I saw it. My name. Attached to accounts I never opened. I whispered, "Someone is using me like I'm not even human." Jake said quietly, "It's coordinated." I flipped another page and stopped. Daniel Carter. My chest tightened instantly. I said, "No." Jake nodded. "He's inside this." I shook my head. That's my brother. Jake replied, I know. I snapped. He wouldn't do this. Jake didn't argue. He just pushed another document forward. Surveillance logs. Authorization stamps. Emergency filings. All signed or approved under Daniel's access. My voice dropped. This is impossible. Jake said, he got control right after your death was declared. I looked up sharply. My death. He nodded. Officially, that's when everything started moving. I whispered, so while I was alive somewhere, he was rebuilding my life? Jake said nothing. That silence answered everything. I stood up. Where is he now? Jake said, still in the system, still fighting to keep control. I muttered, of what exactly? Jake hesitated. Then said, everything tied to your identity. Benefits, property, military compensation. I laughed bitterly. So I'm not a person anymore. I'm an account. Jake said softly. That's what it became. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered instantly. A shaky voice came through. Ethan. I froze. Sophie? She whispered. I shouldn't call. I said quickly, where are you? She said, I'm scared. My grip tightened. Did Ryan hurt you? She hesitated. Then said, no, but Mom is crying again. My chest tightened. Emma? Sophie whispered. She keeps saying she didn't know. I closed my eyes. Sophie, listen to me. You're safe. She said, I don't know what's real anymore. I said softly, I'm trying to fix it. Then she said something that hit harder than anything before. Uncle Daniel told me you were gone, but I saw your grave. My voice dropped. You saw it? She whispered, he said it was better this way. Silence. I muttered, better for who? Then the line cut. I stared at the phone. Jake asked, what happened? I said quietly, Daniel spoke to her. Jake frowned. That means he's still controlling the narrative. I clenched my jaw. He's controlling my daughter's truth. That night, I went back near the house. Not inside. Just watching. The same house. The same door. But now it felt like something else lived inside it. Jake called again. Don't go in there alone, he warned. I replied, I already did everything alone. He said, this is different. I said, no, this is the same war, just closer to home. I hung up. Then I saw movement. A car pulling up. Headlights off. Slow. Careful. I whispered, that's not Emma. The door opened, and Daniel stepped out. My breath stopped. I whispered, finally. He looked around before entering like he was checking for ghosts. I stepped out of the shadows. Daniel. He froze instantly. Slowly turned. Our eyes met. For a moment, nothing was said. Then he whispered, you're not supposed to be here. I walked closer. That's what everyone keeps saying. He shook his head. You don't understand what's happening. I said coldly, I understand enough. He looked tired, not confident anymore. Ethan, this got out of control, he said. I laughed once. Out of control? I stepped closer. You erased me from my own life. His voice cracked slightly. I was trying to protect what was left. I snapped, you mean steal it? He shook his head. You were gone. I shouted, I was alive. Silence. That hit him. Hard. He looked down. I didn't know how to stop it, he whispered. I said, you didn't stop it. You expanded it. He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Ryan, Emma, Sophie. My name on a grave. My identity gone. I pointed at him. All of it leads back to you. His voice broke. I didn't mean for it to become this. I stared at him, then said quietly, but it did. For the first time, he didn't look like someone in control. He looked trapped, but it didn't change what he did. I whispered, you didn't just lose your brother. You replaced him. He closed his eyes. And in that moment, I realized the truth wasn't just betrayal. It was a system built on my absence, and my family was already living inside it. Months passed after my confrontation with Daniel. For the first time since returning home, I stopped chasing answers every day. The investigations continued without me. Court hearings came and went. Documents surfaced. Former business partners testified. Financial records told stories that people could no longer deny. In the end, Daniel faced the consequences of everything he had built. Not because I destroyed him, because the truth finally caught up to him. Ryan disappeared shortly after. One day, people were talking about him. The next day, he was simply gone. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just gone. And honestly, I stopped caring. For too long, my life had revolved around people who had stolen pieces of it. I didn't want to spend the rest of my future thinking about them. I wanted something different. Peace. Emma and I met only a few times after everything came out. Each conversation felt strange. Not hostile. Not warm. Just sad. One afternoon, we sat across from each other at a small coffee shop. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. Like the last few years had finally caught up to her. She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup and whispered, I never thought things would end like this. I nodded slowly. Neither did I. She looked down. I believed the wrong people. I didn't answer immediately. Because that wasn't the whole truth. But it wasn't a lie either. Finally, I said quietly, you were manipulated. She looked up. But I still made choices. I nodded. Yes. Tears filled her eyes. I wish I could change them. I took a deep breath. So do I. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then she asked the question I had been expecting. Is there any chance we can ever go back? I looked out the window before answering. The honest answer hurt. No. She closed her eyes. I continued softly. Too much happened. A tear rolled down her cheek. I know. I nodded. But that doesn't mean I hate you. She stared at me. You don't? I shook my head. No. And I meant it. I was tired of carrying hate. It weighed too much. Emma wiped her eyes. Thank you. I stood up. Take care of yourself. She nodded. You too, Ethan. That was the last time we spoke. Weeks later, life became quieter. Not perfect, but quieter. The anger that had followed me home from war slowly started fading. The nightmares became less frequent. The questions became less important. And for the first time in years, I started thinking about tomorrow instead of yesterday. Then one morning, my phone buzzed. A text message. Just a picture. A birthday cake. Underneath it were 4 words. Sophie's birthday. Come if you want. No name. No explanation. but I knew exactly who sent it. I stared at the message for a long time. My heart felt heavier with every second. I whispered, I don't know if I'm ready. But deep down, I already knew I was going. That evening, I drove slowly through familiar streets. The closer I got, the harder it became to breathe. Every memory returned. The deployment, the ambush, the grave, the locked door, the fear in Emma's eyes, the confusion in Sophie's voice. Everything. I parked across the street, just like I had on that first night. For a moment, I couldn't move. I sat there staring at the house. The same house. The same front porch. The same front door. I whispered, last time I stood here, everything fell apart. Part of me wanted to leave. Part of me wanted to protect myself from disappointment. But another part remembered why I survived. Not for revenge. Not for justice. For family. I stepped out of the truck, slowly walked across the yard, and stopped in front of the door. My hand trembled slightly. I laughed under my breath. After everything, I'm still nervous. Then I knocked. Once. Silence. My heart started racing. Then I heard footsteps. Closer. Closer. The lock clicked. And suddenly, every painful memory from that first night crashed into my mind. The fear. The rejection. The darkness. For a second, I felt like I was standing there all over again. Then the door opened. And everything changed. Sophie stood there, smiling through tears. Older. Stronger. Braver. But still my little girl. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Neither of us needed to. Then she whispered, "Welcome home, Dad." My vision blurred instantly. I couldn't stop the tears. I smiled. The first real smile I had felt since coming home. "Hi, Sophie." She threw her arms around me, and I hugged her back. Tighter than I thought possible. Years of pain seemed to disappear in that moment. Not completely. Some wounds never fully heal. Some scars stay forever. But for the first time, they no longer controlled me. Sophie looked up and smiled. "You came." I laughed softly. "I'll always come back for you." She squeezed my hand. "Good." Then she led me inside. And as I stepped through the doorway that had once been closed to me, I finally understood something. I didn't survive because I exposed Daniel. I didn't survive because justice was served. I survived because I found my way back to the people who truly mattered. And for the first time since the war, for the first time since I returned home, I finally felt like I was home.